Back in the 70s, Scott, there was this fella by the name of Lukowski.
Jorge Lukowski. Yes, so we're going on to talk about THX 1138, which I could have sworn I'd seen back in my formative years, but it might have just been the short film it's based on, or perhaps it was just a still of the stark visuals. At any rate, I couldn't really remember much from the film apart from those visuals, and as I came to type up my notes for this, I couldn't remember all that much of it apart from those visuals, but well, let's crash on and hope it comes back to me. We are introduced to the overwhelmingly brightly lit, white-painted dystopia of a few centuries hence, where life is very different indeed. A totalitarian party controls all people working in subterranean factories, drugged to the eyeballs to repress your identity and humanity, with even your name assigned by the state, a seemingly random collection of letters and numbers like our THX 1138, here played by Robert Duvall. He finishes a shift building the unflappable android police enforcers he will soon be menaced by, and returns to his habitation, stopping only to pray and give confession to the party-approved deity Om. He's feeling odd and unusually unfocused because, it turns out, his flatmate, Maggie McComie's LUH 3417, has been fiddling with their meds, doing whatever the inverse of slipping him a Mickey is, leading to them rediscovering human emotions and drives. Such novelty, however, does reduce his efficiency on the production line, leading to their transgressions being discovered and THX thrown in jail, which seems to be the same blank white void that Apple did their product launch videos in for most of the past few decades. Rejecting the drug-based rehabilitation, he breaks out alongside Donald Pleasance's delusional rebel leader and Don Pedro Colley's character, who's apparently a hologram, and they go on the lam through this strange dystopia pursued by their android cops, with THX ultimately heading for the surface for life amongst the shell dwellers, whatever they are precisely supposed to be. Now, THX 1138 has of course lived on in popular culture, not primarily due to its success, it saw very little at the time, or even its inherent qualities, but because it's a George Lucas joint, and George Lucas made Star Wars. Perhaps you have heard of it. But the question that remains for this podcast is whether or not this has much value as anything more than a DVD extra on Star Wars box set. And, well, I suppose it does, but there's a bunch of qualifiers you need to that. In a number of ways, it's a really concise summation of Lucas's strengths and weaknesses as a storyteller. Visually, it's quite remarkable indeed, and remains so to this day. Narratively, there's not a great deal to it, but it's, I guess, solid enough for what it needs to be. The genius of it is in the details of the world, with many little throwaway lines and concepts that hint at something really interesting that could be explored. It doesn't explore them here, of course, and as the expanded universe of Star Wars perhaps proved, it probably shouldn't. But being left with questions about the party and its seeming co-opting of all forms of totalitarianism, fascism, communism, and religion and capitalism, and whatever's happened to the planet that means the surface is deemed uninhabitable, or if that's just another lie to control the populace, and who exactly is doing the controlling. All the best aspects of speculative fiction here, providing questions and letting you answer them yourself. But if you're on the mood for answers to be served to you on a plate, however, THX 1138 doesn't deliver, and to be honest, if you wanted the bare minimum of information to be served to you to have the basis of anything other than total guesswork for answering these questions yourself, well, you're not getting that either. So there's a lot to both like and criticise about the world building of the piece. So I guess that just about comes out in a wash. It deserves some recognition apart from his just marginally more famous works. It should be noted that George Lucas couldn't help George Lucasing this with a director's cut that balances out some really quite impressive restoration and cleanup work with some abominable CG enhancements that stick out like a sore thumb. And so, yes, again, a fairly concise summation of Lucas's strengths and weaknesses. Yes, sounds like you're a little bit more negative on it than I am, but yeah, I can't say I'm overwhelmingly positive about it either.
You see a little bit. This is the second shortest film in a selection of films, some of which are quite substantial in length, and this was by far the one that felt like longest to watch. And while watching, one of the thoughts I had was, wow, George Lucas actually made a film worse than Revenge of the Sith? Colour me shocked and or impressed, I'm not sure which is the appropriate emotion. Yeah, I did not get on with this film at all. I mean, I've never seen it. I've seen like clips and stuff and Star Wars documentaries and stuff. It's very regularly referenced. There's even people know there's even a stormtrooper in Star Wars called THX 1138 in reference to this, and it became the special effects. Now, what do THX do? It's sound mastering, I guess, isn't it? And
yeah, certification and all that stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, yes, that's company name. That's a lot. This will be interesting, at least. I'll give it a go. And I actually watched Electronic Labyrinth THX 1138 4EB first, which is the student film that George Lucas made at USC, but this is an expanded version of. Now, when I watched Electronic Labyrinth THX 1138 4EB, what a mouthful, at first I thought, wow, this is a student film, because it is in every way possible a student film. And that was all I could think about. Then I watched THX 1138 and I thought, actually, that first one was only 15 minutes long. It was great. I mean, it's got a similar idea in it. It's like there's a man running away from the authorities. Although it ends with him, he gets away and then they just decide, oh, we're not going for long, but we'll pretend he didn't get away. We'll tell people he died. Okay. And there are some frustrations to THX 1138 in it. There are clearly some... he's kind of reaching for some kind of interesting ideas. He's clearly got something to say. Like there's the weird fact that the chase for Robert Duvall stops because, well, they run out of money, or they had a certain budget for chasing people. They run out of money and that's it. So it feels like, he's trying to make some sort of comment maybe on capitalism or something there, before he became the billionaire. Yes. But it doesn't really work because I don't understand what anybody is doing or why.
Yeah.
They go to visit the Magic Jesus booths with the big pictures of Jesus.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I've seen that particular painting before, but I forget which artist it's by, but it's like one of a number of particularly famous representations of Jesus Christ. It's in there, even though they give it a different name here. When it keeps on talking about, like, buy, consume and stuff, right? Again, feels like you're trying to say something there, George, but you haven't attached that to the fact that nobody in this buys anything, nobody has any possessions.
Yes.
How are these people supposed to consume when they live in pure white cubes with the most basic furniture? They don't buy anything, they don't have any different clothes, they don't even buy food. Again, it's indicative of George Lucas, Scott. It's not really joined up.
Yes.
There are ideas that don't really work with other things. And you mentioned the hologram, and I'm glad you did, because I thought that was quite strange. You're spending a fair bit of time with this character who either believes he's a hologram and wants to convince Robert Duvall he's a hologram, up until the point, apparently, he is actually a hologram. It doesn't make a whole heap of sense.
Yes.
He just disappears from the car at the end. Also, basic sort of logic things in here. Robert Duvall's lived his entire life inside of this thing, never been anywhere else, but can drive. Okay. I wasn't even sure like what it was he was making. I was like, I know they were androids, but were they just the android police, and why were they nuclear?
Yeah.
But why were they nuclear policemen? There's no suggestion later on that they're nuclear policemen. The perfect shit. I just didn't enjoy it. So I'm kind of frustrated because I thought that every so often there's kind of an interesting idea, then mostly it's just a bunch of weird stuff and it's boring. And I can't talk particularly well about this film because I was just bored. I wanted something to happen. Oh, they've been walking in this white thing for... Wow, like 4 days now, I think. Yeah, it should make a lot of sense. And Donald Pleasence his character's so weird in this, but I didn't really see there any point in him being weird. It was just weird for the sake of being weird. No, I tried to trying to find something to hold on to in this film, and there was nothing in it for me at all.
Yes, it's I would say that the least interesting of all the films we're talking about here, and I suspect if George Lucas had not gone on to do Star Wars and the like, then we wouldn't really be talking about THX 1138 in any capacity, or anyone would. Yes, can't really disagree with anything you're saying. I didn't find it quite so dull, which helped, but yes, there's an awful lot to criticise on it, and I think we're more or less saying the same thing. There's ideas in there, but frustratingly, they don't really go into them or really give you anything like enough information to actually say that it's explored any of these ideas. It's just dropped them there and ran away from them and lets you deal with the cleaning up the mess of it. And somewhat unsatisfying, yes.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about more of the stuff that It's like he's had the beginning of an idea and never known quite how to follow through with it. It's like, talk about the wee Jesus booths again, right? They'll have this picture of Jesus on the wall. And then there's some suggestion later on that they're all video representations of one other picture of Jesus, but it was a static picture. What was the point?
Yes.
Had it been like there was like the... And I was going to say maybe it's just like an effects budget thing or something, but actually no, because all you would have to have is like projection of an actual person, and it would just be that if it was... These people felt like they were getting not just a recorded message, but like somebody was saying something to them, and it was turned out it was like they were actually just filming some other guy in a room. That would work. They seem to be broadcasting a still image,
yes,
from a television camera. What is the point? There's no joined up thinking in this film.
Yes. So my recommendation is, if you don't want to watch this, instead go and watch Equilibrium, which steals the same basic plot points but has cool kung fu in it instead.
Weirdly, that was exactly what was in my head when I was thinking about that Jubas thing there. It's very much like that. And other films have done that sort of idea before as well. It's like you pretend you're God and it's a wee man broadcasting from somewhere. Which is why it's even more baffling. It was a still picture. Why are you... No. Okay, yeah. Afraid this did nothing for me, so I should perhaps move on to something else. It might have done something for me.